boys and girls. I was just kind of looking at my books here, thinking, there's all these different kinds of movies, like adventure and drama and all kinds of different movies. And books are kind of the same way. Have you ever thought of that? Well, today in our lesson, we're going to learn about all the different kinds of fiction books there are. So let's take a look at our learning goals and our success criteria. Learning goal today is I am learning to understand that there are different genres of fiction texts: realistic fiction, historical fiction, traditional literature, and fantasy. That's just a few of them that fall within the broader categories of realism or fantasy. Our success criteria, I will name different fiction genres and describe the characteristics. I will use academic vocabulary such as genre, fiction, fantasy, realism, realistic, fiction, and historical fiction. So let's take a look inside our book box and see what kind of books we have. Another one of your mini lessons this week is about a book box and what kinds of things go in there. So if you haven't yet, make sure that you have some kind of special spot at home where you can keep all your books. Even if it's a crate or maybe you have a bookshelf, but somewhere that you have that's special. Could even be a basket. Let's look at this book first. Shooting at the Stars. This was a wonderful book that we all read together, and this book falls under the genre of fiction. Now, we should remember that fiction means that it's not true. Now, you may be thinking, Mrs. Blackburn, how can this be a story that's not true? It's about a war, and I know that war really happened. It has dates like 1914. There are soldiers in there. It talks about the Germans fighting with the English. I know all those things happened, Mrs. Blackburn. Well, you're correct. They did happen. But with historical fiction, what happens is they can have a setting or true events that really did occur. But what they do is they add characters and dialogue that is made up. And some people really enjoy reading those books. I know I do. And it makes them more interesting. And that is called historical fiction. So that's a subgenre of fiction. So if you like those, you may want to check out some more of those. Okay? Our next book we're going to look at is this one. Okay, it should look familiar too. Looks like this one, Mrs. Katz and Tush. Now, this one is also in the fiction category, and it is made up. Now, Patricia Polacco, the author, she has characters in here. She has Mrs. Katz and Tush the cat. Could those characters be around in real life? Of course they could. All of the characters could. All of these characters could be real life people. The setting is not, anywhere unusual in a make-believe land. There aren't any talking animals or anything. There's nothing in this entire book that could not happen. However, none of it did. The author, Patricia Polacco, she made up all of these characters and all of these in the setting and the dialogue and everything. So because of that, and because it really could happen, we call this realistic fiction. Okay? So some of us really enjoy these. So that's realistic fiction. Now let's move on. Let's see what else we can find here. Oh, here's one that we read last week. How about this one? Merlin and the Dragon. Some of you are fans of this kind of subgenre of fiction. Yes, okay, so what do we know about this? Well, we know there aren't real dragons running around, right? So we definitely know that that's fiction for that very reason. But what kind of fiction is this? And how do we know? Well, there's magic, Okay? This kind of subgenre always has magic. The other thing that makes this subgenre very special and unique to itself is that it's passed on for many, many years. Passed on from generation to generation, many, many years. Has magic. Those are the two things that really make it stand out. And because of that, Merlin and the Dragons is retold over and over again. It may be a slightly different depending on who says or tells the story, but it's retold over and over again, probably because people really like the story. But because of that, this subgenre is called a legend. So legends also fall in the fiction category. Okay? So, let's test out a few that we haven't read and see if you can figure those out. All right. First one. This one right here. This is one you're going to listen to this week. This one is called The Story of Jumping Mouse. Okay. Mouse must be the character. Main character's on the front. Let me flip through it a little bit, show you some illustrations. Illustrations here. Looks like they're in the woods. I see a butterfly. I wonder if the mouse is talking to the butterfly. It looks like those two animals are talking to each other, perhaps. So it looks like it's definitely a fiction story. There's a snake. We've got some animals interacting here. Yep. There's a buffalo. Maybe it's a bison. I'd have to read the story to be able to tell. So these animals are talking and interacting. Looks like those things. And on the back it says, "You will reach the far off land." That's a clue. Far off land. If you keep hope alive within you. The words of Magic Frog. That's a good hint too. Give courage to young mouse on his long and perilous journey. On a long journey. That's a big clue. To reach the wonderful land of legend. Huge clue there. So, if you guess that this is a legend, you are correct. And also on the front, here's a huge clue. It says a Native American legend retold and illustrated by John Steptoe. So, if you're one of those people that enjoy stories that have been retold, told over many, many generations, kind of book you like. And again, it's fiction, but it's a legend. All right? Okay, couple more. This one is one of Mrs. Blackburn's favorite because I am a huge Kate DiCamillo fan. The Tale of Despero. Tale of Despero. Despero is a mouse. He's the main character. If you look closely, he has a needle. He uses a needle as a sword. He thinks, or he's going to, his mission is to save a princess. Okay? So, it also has castles and magic. And this one actually says, it's not a description, so I'm just going to have to tell you a few things about it. It's really good. The mice speak. There's people in it. The mice can speak to the people. Obviously, these things don't happen in real life, so it is fiction. There's an adventure. It's not been told over many, many, many years and passed down by generation to generation, so it can't be a legend. So it falls under the fantasy category. Fantasy. Okay? That's why that would be a fantasy. And then the last one I'm going to speak to you about, some of you may have read this. It's a really great series, The Sisters Grimm. This is a combination of two other subcategories or subgenres of fiction. This one is about two main characters. You can see a big giant hand reaching down to grab them. They go on many adventures, but they're also hunting for clues throughout to solve a mystery. So, the author considers this book, the genre of this book, a fantasy and a mystery. So if you like both of those, this book's for you. Really enjoy it. Okay? So, your job next is to complete your Nearpod activity. Your Nearpod activity is going to give you about a minute review of what a fantasy is and what fiction is, what legends are, and give you some other subgenres of fiction, because remember, fiction is the great big genre, and then we have all these other subgenres underneath them. And then you're going to have a couple of questions to answer after that activity on your own. I hope you enjoyed learning all about the fiction genre, and start paying attention. It will help you pick better fit books. Enjoy reading. Bye-bye.